Today is 31st of August 2010, and this is also the 42nd time or night we are speaking on the Majjhima Nikaya Suttas. Now we come to Sutta 103, Kinti Sutta. What do you think about me? Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Kusinara in the grove of offerings. There he addressed the monks thus, "Monks, Noble Sir," they replied. The Blessed One said, "What do you think about me, monks? That the recluse Gotama teaches the Dhamma for the sake of robes, or that the recluse Gotama teaches the Dhamma for the sake of alms food, or that the recluse Gotama teaches the Dhamma for the sake of a resting place, or that the recluse Gotama teaches the Dhamma for the sake of some better state of being? We do not think thus about the Blessed One. The recluse Gotama teaches the Dhamma for the sake of robes, or for the sake of alms food, or for the sake of a resting place, or for the sake of some better state of being. So monks, you do not think thus about me. The recluse Gotama teaches the Dhamma for the sake of robes, or alms food, or resting place, or some better state of being. Then what do you think about me? Noble Sir, we think thus about the Blessed One. The Blessed One is compassionate and seeks our welfare. He teaches the Dhamma out of compassion. So monks, you think thus about me. The Blessed One is compassionate and seeks our welfare. He teaches the Dhamma out of compassion. So monks, these things that I have taught you after directly knowing them, that is, the 4 intense states of recollection, the 4 right kinds of striving, the 4 bases of psychic power, the 5 faculties, 5 powers, 7 enlightenment factors, the Noble Eightfold Path. These things you should all train in concord with mutual appreciation, without disputing. I'll stop here for a moment. These few things here, if you add the 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 7 plus 8, they add up to 37. They are called the Bodhipakya Dhammas, the requisites of enlightenment. And they are the most important of the Buddha's teachings as far as practice is concerned. While you are training in concord with mutual appreciation without disputing, 2 monks might differ about the higher Dhamma. Let's stop here for a moment. The higher Dhamma, the Abhidhamma, in the Suttas refers to these 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas and anything connected with them. It is not the later Abhidhamma that nowadays is found in the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Now, if you should think thus, these Venerable Ones differ about both the meaning and the phrasing, then whichever monk you think is the more reasonable should be approached and addressed thus. The Venerable Ones differ about both the meaning and the phrasing. The Venerable Ones should know that it is for this reason that there is difference about the meaning and difference about the phrasing. Let them not fall into a dispute. Then whichever monk you think is the most reasonable of those who side together on the opposite path should be approached and addressed thus. The Venerable Ones differ about the meaning and the phrasing. The Venerable Ones should know that it is for this reason that there is difference about the meaning and difference about the phrasing. Let them not fall into a dispute. So what has been wrongly grasped should be borne in mind as wrongly grasped. Bearing in mind what has been wrongly grasped as wrongly grasped, what is Dhamma, what is Vinaya should be expounded. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, suppose 2 monks have a difference of opinion about the higher Dhamma, the higher Dhamma of the Buddha, and they differ in the meaning and the phrasing of the higher Dhamma. Then there will be monks who side one party, and there will be monks who side the other party. So the Buddha said, you should try to approach both parties and tell them not to dispute, to understand the Dhamma correctly, the Dhamma and the Vinaya, and then don't have a dispute. Now, if you think thus, these venerable ones differ about the meaning, but agree about the phrasing, then whichever monk you think is the more reasonable should be approached and addressed thus. The venerable ones differ about the meaning, but agree about the phrasing. The venerable ones should know that it is for this reason that there is difference about the meaning, but agreement about the phrasing. Let them not fall into a dispute. Then whichever monk you think is the most reasonable of those who side together on the opposite part should be approached and addressed thus. The venerable ones differ about the meaning, but agree about the phrasing. The venerable ones should know that it is for this reason that there is difference about the meaning, but agreement about the phrasing. Let them not fall into a dispute. So what has been wrongly grasped should be borne in mind as wrongly grasped, and what has been rightly grasped should be borne in mind as rightly grasped. Bearing in mind what has been wrongly grasped as wrongly grasped, and bearing in mind what has been rightly grasped as rightly grasped. What is Dhamma and what is Vinaya should be expounded. Stop here for a moment. So again, here the second case is they differ about the meaning but agree about the phrasing. So the Buddha is asking any monk who can settle their differences should try to settle their differences. Don't let them fall into dispute. Because if the Sangha of monks dispute and they break into two Sanghas, it's a very serious thing. It's called a schism. And if a monk strives to create schism in the Sangha so that the Sangha splits into two Sanghas, then it is one of the very heavy offenses, karmic offenses that can bring him to hell. So that's why the Buddha says to try to bring the monks together. Don't allow them to dispute. But before you can do that, the monk should be one who is very familiar with the Dhamma Vinaya, who knows the Dhamma Vinaya very well. Then only he can explain so that the two parties can agree, can accept what he says. Now if you think thus, these venerable ones agree about the meaning but differ about the phrasing, then whichever monk you think is the more reasonable should be approached and addressed thus. The venerable ones agree about the meaning but differ about the phrasing. The venerable ones should know that it is for this reason that there is agreement about the meaning but difference about the phrasing. But the phrasing is a mere trifle. Let the venerable ones not fall into a dispute over a mere trifle. Then whichever monk you think is the most reasonable of those who side together on the opposite part should be approached and addressed thus. The venerable ones agree about the meaning but differ about the phrasing. The venerable ones should know that it is for this reason that there is agreement about the meaning but difference about the phrasing. But the phrasing is a mere trifle. Let the venerable ones not fall into a dispute over a mere trifle. So what has been rightly grasped should be borne in mind as rightly grasped, and what has been wrongly grasped should be borne in mind as wrongly grasped. Bearing in mind what has been rightly grasped as rightly grasped, and bearing in mind what has been wrongly grasped as wrongly grasped. What is Dhamma and what is Vinaya should be expounded. Now if you should think thus, these venerable ones agree about both the meaning and the phrasing, then whichever monk you think is the more reasonable should be approached and addressed thus. The venerable ones agree about both the meaning and the phrasing. The venerable ones should know that it is for this reason that there is agreement about both the meaning and the phrasing. Let the venerable ones not fall into a dispute. Then whichever monk you think is the most reasonable of those who side together on the opposite part should be approached and addressed thus. The venerable ones agree about both the meaning and the phrasing. The venerable ones should know that it is for this reason that there is agreement about both the meaning and the phrasing. Let the venerable ones not fall into a dispute. So what has been rightly grasped should be borne in mind as rightly grasped. Bearing in mind what has been rightly grasped as rightly grasped. What is Dhamma, what is Vinaya should be expounded. While you are training in concord with mutual appreciation without disputing, some monk might commit an offense or a transgression. Now monks, you should not hurry to reprove him. Rather, the person should be examined thus. I shall not be troubled, and the other person will not be hurt. For the other person is not given to anger and revenge. He is not firmly attached to his view, and he relinquishes easily. And I can make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. If such occurs to you, monks, it is proper to speak. Stop here for a moment. So, if a monk commits an offense, the Buddha says, don't be in a hurry to reprove him. You should examine the situation. Suppose on your part, you are not too much troubled, and the other person does not have too much anger, he is not too attached to his view, then it is proper to speak. Then it may occur to you, monks, I shall not be troubled, but the other person will be hurt, for the other person is given to anger and revenge. However, he is not firmly attached to his view, and he relinquishes easily, and I can make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. It is a mere trifle that the other person will be hurt, but it is a much greater thing that I can make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. If such occurs to you, monks, it is proper to speak. Stop here for a moment. So this second case, this person, he has some anger, but he's not too attached to his view, and it is possible to make him see what is wholesome and what is unwholesome. If you are able to convince him, then the Buddha says you should speak. Then it may occur to you, monks, I shall be troubled, but the other person will not be hurt, for the other person is not given to anger and revenge, though he is firmly attached to his view, and he relinquishes with difficulty. Yet I can make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. It is a mere trifle that I should be troubled, but it is a much greater thing that I can make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. If such occurs to you, monks, it is proper to speak. Let's stop here for a moment. So in this third case, this person he has a lot of anger. This person does not have anger, but he's firmly attached to his view. But it is possible to make him relinquish his view. But it will take a bit of trouble. And the Buddha says, if you can do that, then it's proper to speak. Then it may occur to you, monks, I shall be troubled, and the other person will be hurt, for the other person is given to anger and revenge, and he is firmly attached to his view, and he relinquishes with difficulty. Yet I can make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. It is a mere trifle that I shall be troubled, and the other person hurt, but it is a much greater thing that I can make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. If such occurs to you, monks, it is proper to speak. Stop here for a moment. So in this case, it is difficult, but it is possible to make him see that he has done wrong and make him come out from the unwholesome. So it is possible then again to speak. Then it may occur to you, monks, I shall be troubled, and the other person will be hurt. For the other person is given to anger and revenge, and he is firmly attached to his view, and he relinquishes with difficulty, and I cannot make that person emerge from the unwholesome and establish him in the wholesome. One should not underrate equanimity towards such a person. Stop here for a moment. So this last case, this person, it's not possible to make him change his mind. Then the Buddha says, then you should just abide equanimous. Don't try to talk to him. While you are training in concord with mutual appreciation without disputing, there might arise mutual verbal friction, domineering views, mental annoyance, bitterness and dejection. Then whichever monk you think is the most reasonable of those who side together on the one path should be approached and addressed thus. While we were training in concord, friend, with mutual appreciation without disputing, there arose mutual verbal friction, domineering views, mental annoyance, bitterness and dejection. If the recluse knew, would he censure that? Answering rightly, the monk would answer thus. While we were training in concord with mutual appreciation, etc., if the recluse knew, he would censure that. A friend, without abandoning that thing, can one realize Nibbana? Answering rightly, the monk would answer thus. Friend, without abandoning that thing, one cannot realize Nibbana. Stop here for a moment. So here, two sides. There's some verbal friction between two parties of monks. So here the Buddha says you should talk to them and said if the recluse knew, the recluse here refers to the Buddha, I guess. If the Buddha knew, would he censure this and that party agrees then he will know that what to do Then whichever monk you think is the most reasonable of those who side together on the opposite path should be approached and addressed thus. While we were training in concord, friend, with mutual appreciation without disputing, there arose mutual verbal friction, domineering views, mental annoyance, bitterness and dejection. If the recluse knew, would he censure that? Answering rightly, the monk would answer thus. While we were training in concord, with mutual appreciation, etc., if the recluse knew, he would censure that. A friend, without abandoning that thing, can one realize Nibbana? Answering rightly, the monk would answer thus. Friend, without abandoning that thing, one cannot realize Nibbana. If others should ask that monk thus, was it the Venerable One who made those monks emerge from the unwholesome and established them in the wholesome? Answering rightly, the monk would answer thus. Here, friends, I went to the Blessed One. The Blessed One taught me the Dhamma. Having heard that Dhamma, I spoke to those monks. The monks heard that Dhamma, and they emerged from the unwholesome and became established in the wholesome. Answering thus, the monk neither exalts himself nor disparages others. He answers in accordance with the Dhamma in such a way that nothing which provides a ground for censure can be legitimately deduced from his assertion. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. It's the end of the sutta. So here this sutta is more for monks. The Buddha is advising monks. If the Sangha, there's problem in the Sangha, how they should deal with it, how to bring the two parties together back to concord and harmony. Not so much for lay people, more for monks. Then the last part the Buddha says that if a monk can bring about harmony of the Sangha, then he should give the credit to the Buddha, not to himself. The Buddha taught him the Dhamma. Using the Dhamma, he spoke the Dhamma to them.